Jen, thank you very much for coming into studio. Now, holiday season is almost upon us. Most of us will be going away in 2 to 3 weeks' time. Is it actually possible to get fit and toned in that time?
Well, I think dramatic transformation, probably not. But you could definitely drop a couple of kilos in the next 2 weeks or so if you really applied yourself. But you'd have to be quite strict and quite determined, I think, to get there.
Would you start with exercise or would you start with food?
Well, I think it's definitely a combination. They always say 80-20, and they say 80% of it is happening in the kitchen. So I would recommend, making a few small changes and trying to stick with those. Definitely staying hydrated. You'll see immediate results if you increase your water intake and reduce your alcohol intake, for instance. And also cutting back on things like, the unhealthy carbohydrates, like the white bread and the sweeties. And
what was quite interesting a little earlier, I was just speaking to Dr. Daniel Show about sugar addiction. Do you believe sugar is addictive?
I think it definitely is. I think there's definitely a mental aspect to it, and I think people also convince themselves that they can't live without these things. I think there's also a way to overcome that. I think the more healthy food you can replace that with, the easier it becomes. It just takes a small decision, and they say willpower is also like a muscle that you can strengthen. So,
I think that's the thing, is that this time of year, most of us are just really tired after a very long year. How do you motivate yourself to get out there, take a little run or a walk, do some yoga?
Yeah.
How do you motivate your people?
Well, look, what I try to say to my ladies is it's not really, you don't have to be extreme. I'm a regular girl who's just stayed active her whole life, and I think that you can do small things that go a long way. And you don't have to get up every morning and think, oh my word, I've got to hit the gym for an hour or 2 hours. You really can do small things to change your level of activity in life. Take the dog for a walk, go and play with the kids, go to the beach, while you're on holiday, stay active. Play tennis, find a bicycle and go for a ride.
Often people say, well, I'm going to get really fit this holiday. I'm going to go for a walk on the beach or a run on the beach every single day. And day 2 arrives and we're like, pass me the Christmas cake, I'm staying in bed. So if we perhaps start exercising before the holidays, by the time we go on holiday, we'll be somewhat slimmer, more toned, and definitely more smug.
Yeah, for sure. And every little bit of activity that you do is going to affect your body. So if you do start now and you are a little bit determined and a little bit disciplined, within 2 weeks you'll see a change in yourself.
Something that I have personally noticed is the mental health benefits of exercise as well, and particularly of exercising outdoors. Now, there have been studies on how much more beneficial it is to exercise outdoors.
Now, that is something I really harp on all the time, because for me, exercise is so much more than about aesthetics. It's actually so much more about how you feel. You cope with your stress levels so much better. You enjoy your life. Just being outside in the sunshine, all that extra vitamin D. I mean, as you say, there are studies that have proven that all these things make you feel better, help you cope with your life so much better.
The one thing, another trend which is really enticing is the high interval training trend, high intensity interval training, which what's great about it is it takes very little time for very quick results. Now, that is the opposite extreme of taking the dog for a walk or playing with the kids. How is that catching on in South Africa? And are you finding that particularly people who work very long working hours, that sort of thing, is it gaining traction with people like that and working for them?
I think definitely, and I think it's because people do see results from it. It's proven to work, and I mean, living in Johannesburg, we know we work very long hours and we don't have time to spend an hour in a fitness class. So it's definitely taking off a lot more of the studios and gyms and so on. In my own outdoor fitness business, we are encouraging people, just commit half an hour. Just come, get a little warm up, work really hard for the time that you're there, following the system of high intensity interval training, and a little bit of a cool down. And it really works, for instance, for a mom who needs to get back home, she needs to pick kids up, she needs to do some cooking. If you're going to the gym, you still have to get there and then work out for an hour and then get home. That's an hour and a half, 2 hours out of your day. Whereas most people feel like they can commit to 30 minutes, and then once they sign up, they're really surprised that they're seeing results, sometimes more results than they did from exhausting themselves for an hour. It's so much better to just come in, hit it hard, and get it over with.
So I'm seeing two routes. You can either do the more gentle, just the sort of the mental, basic fitness approach of taking the dog for a walk, going for a walk in the park, or you can go, right, I'm going to give myself half an hour every day. Let's say you're deciding on the extremist route. What is the best thing to start with? Is it swimming to avoid the injury? Is it running on the spot? What is the, if you want to get into the high interval, where do you start?
Look, if you're a beginner, I would definitely look for a program that starts with the very basic stuff. You know, something that sort of first builds up your strength and your fitness. You really can't go into these things flat out and running, because you will injure yourself. So it is important to speak to somebody who can take you from that basic level and encourage you and say, right, we're not going to start with the running, we're going to start with some fast walking. And as you build up your fitness, you get better and better, and also you build confidence.
That's the key thing as well. You just feel so much better about yourself. Thank you so much.
Smug, as you were saying. Smug.
Genevieve van der Vyver, thank you very much for coming in and sharing
Thanks for having me.
those tips. So there you have it. That's how to get fab and fit and also slay this holiday season. You've got to start somewhere. Of course, not in the midday heat with the heat wave.